Hi, Keira. Thanks for joining me on the Revitalized Womanhood podcast. I'm so excited to have you here.
I am so excited. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you. I mean, I just started getting into, listeners, like bearing my soul to Keira. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm going to hit record.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to hear this. I was talking about how let's just jump right in. Let's just dive right in here.
That's how I like to do things.
I was talking about how she asked how travels were. You all know we've been in Costa Rica for the last month. And it's like, I'm finally, my passion for this community, my passion for helping women see their gifts and shine, right, is starting to affect my values and things that I have for my family, right? When we want to travel, we want to be gone long term, we want to do these kinds of things. And the worlds are starting to have some tension. Mm-hmm. And not in a bad way. Like Rick is working with me. We're working through it. Like this weekend, we're supposed to go to Breckenridge, Colorado with some friends. It was very last minute, and that's fine, but that's how we usually are. Yeah. And for whatever reason, we got too much snow up at our cabin, and we couldn't do what we needed to do up there. And then I've got work and whatever. And he's like, let's just not go. And that is really hard for me.
Yeah.
He's being supportive. He's trying to say, babe, you probably need to work. Yeah. You probably should do this. And I'm like, no, I don't want to, because I want to make memories with my family. That's a value. I stand by James Clear. I'm such a nerd, but James Clear, instead of setting goals every year, he sets values. And so if things come to him and it doesn't align with his values, he's like, it's a no, right? If it aligns with my values, it's a yes. It has nothing to do with goals, he says, but then it kind of just falls into place. Yeah. Because if my values are where I want them to be, everything will progress the way it needs to, right? Yeah. And so I'm kind of in that. And so here I am getting ready for this episode. Yeah. And so I went way back into your stuff. And so listeners, I know I already introduced her, but I want to explain why I really think it's important that we talk about that you had your podcast was previously called The Awaken Podcast, and your publishing house was Freedom House Publishing Co. And I love pointing out that now your podcast is the Sacred Writing Podcast, and that your publishing house is Joan of Arc Publishing, because it's a perfect example of we grow, we evolve, it's everybody feels like once you're in this place, you're stuck. That's it. You've made a commitment.
Right.
And it's like, who says?
Right. Yeah.
Like, tomorrow I'm going to wear a black shirt. Well, today I don't want to wear a black shirt. I'm going to wear a red one instead, right? Yeah. And I understand that there is thoughts that go into that, like, and fear mostly, right? Yeah. What ifs. Yeah. But what's the worst that can happen? Yeah. I've kind of felt the worst things that can happen. We lost everything. We were living in a basement, and it wasn't that bad. Right. Right. Like if you get past the pride and get past the who says what you should be doing, it's really not that bad. But if you can make a choice to maybe live fully in a place where you could truly be happy, do it. And so I think that's where my worlds are just like, one is making me so happy, the other makes me so happy. I need to find that alignment.
Yeah.
Right?
I feel that. Well, what's interesting is, like, with the changing of names, it's because it amplified my purpose. So we start out where we start out, and that the names that come to us when we first start business is the name for that place and point. But as our purposes expand, then sometimes it's needed for old ways to be cleared out and new ways to be created. But like, the thing that never changes is my passion. So my passion for making a difference in the world, my passion for impacting humanity always has been there. It's that sometimes names change to expand that passion and purpose in a deeper way.
Well, that was beautifully said. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I just need to let myself expand. Maybe I'm just trying to lock myself into old ways and a new way, and I'm locking myself in. I just need to expand. If you guys are watching on YouTube, I'm just very...
I like it.
I think people watch my YouTube
Yeah.
to see what train wreck's about to happen.
Whatever.
Like, she's going to do something in a minute. She's going to do something really weird. So my friend and I, my good friend Trish and I, actually recorded in Costa Rica.
Fun.
It was a time. We'll call it that. It was a good time. We had so much fun, but it was a circus and it was hilarious, but it was super fun.
That's so cool.
So let me ask you this question, and I think it's so funny when you ask this because every podcast does this. Introduce yourself, right? And sometimes you get people that are like, well, if I were to put myself in a box, and I'm like, that's really interesting that you would say it like that, because for me, I like to hear how people introduce themselves because I've got your biography right here, right? Yeah. I can Google, I can look up anybody's biography or whatever if you've got a social media presence, which we all do. I love to hear how they introduce themselves. Yeah. So would you please introduce yourself to my listeners?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I am a mom to 5 kids, ages 8 to 18. I'm actually a single mom, so that's a whole thing. And I am the founder of Joan of Arc Publishing. Used to be Freedom House, and now it is Joan of Arc Publishing. I am a book medium. That means like mediums can hear spirits and give messages. I can actually hear people's books, and I can share what are the most important things that need to go in a book, what are the things that are going to make the most impact for readers, and really help people get into a flow state that they've never been in before. So that's my magic. And that's how I help people write the best damn book they're ever going to write, and also how they write it without writer's block. So my magic is like, how do we stay in creation and flow? How do we connect with the divine? How do we work with angels? How do we then go change humanity with like really powerful messages that need to come to earth? So I do that in a bunch of different ways. I work one-on-one with people. I run a mastermind with my publishing house. And then obviously we publish the books. And we help authors market their books so that they don't just write the best damn book and then it sits in a closet.
Yeah, get it out there.
Right? Like, let's go change the world. It's not going to change the world in your closet. So,
amen.
Yeah.
Look what I have right behind me.
Oh,
so that's what I was getting into. That's what I was getting into. So I actually, Randa, I'm like, oh, it's out. Yeah. So I went and ordered it, and right after she says, oh, I'd love to send you a signed copy. And I'm like, I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not waiting. So send me one and I will gift this to someone else, but I'm not waiting. I got to get it. So sorry, I'm messing with my volume. I hope it didn't mess anything up. So that's what I was saying when we first started is I've gone back into your podcast and I've just kind of lost myself in them. And you're blowing my mind on so many different levels. And it's so funny when you binge podcasts because different things come out and speak to you than maybe they would have when you just listened to them one-offs, right?
Yeah,
and the flow of them. And so that with literally before you hopped on, I was just in this page of, okay, I'm going to get into it because it is exactly, and this is why maybe you opened up a vibe for me because you were talking about this is from the Unstoppable, that note. Before I can teach you what I've learned, we must clean out the old. You don't want to embark on this new journey with old, beaten down shoes that no longer fit. You want fresh, new shoes, ready to walk up the mountain. To clear out the old, I invite you to set aside some time right now to write all of the old thought patterns around business and creation. And then you've got all these amazing questions, like a workbook with your book here. And I think that was a trigger. It was, wait a minute, this is what I'm feeling. I know I've been feeling something. I explain it like it's our intuition, right? We know something's off. We know we just can't quite put our finger on it. And so I explain it in my community as we're spinning plates, right? We're those people that sit and spin plates on their nose and their head and their hands and feet. And these plates are constantly going and one of them's slowing down. Yeah. And that's where we need to focus our energy. We have to, because that's the one that needs it first. And so we don't necessarily always know exactly what it is, but you have the intuition that it's something. Yeah. And I think that's why people find communities like this, why people want to join masterminds like yours, why, because they feel like, okay, something's missing. I need to find what it is. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. It's that seeking. The seeking will always lead us somewhere. And what happens is when we start to want to seek, old patterns come back in that like shame us or put us in doubt and fear, and then we stop seeking. But the seeking was like the trail that if you just followed the breadcrumbs, it would take you to exactly where you need to go. But it takes a whole lot of faith to be in that realm of like, I'm willing to seek, even though I don't know what I'm looking for, but I'm willing to be open to receive. And that's kind of, if I were to say how I've built business in the last 5 years, it's just been that. Like I was seeking for guidance. I was seeking for a bigger purpose to live into, and never did I ever think I'd sit here telling you that, we published so many books last year and every day I'm working with authors, and like never did I ever think this would be what I would be doing. And it all just started with the desire to be more. And like, hey God, show me who I am. Like show me what I'm here to do. And I'm like kind of over doing dishes all day. Like I'm pretty sure I'm here to like I could feel it. Like there was like a hunger inside of me. Like there's more for me. And it started with seeking.
So I didn't know you before I attended the Unstoppable event. And when you spoke, it was like I had just started this community. It was really weird how it came to me. It's just the universe, right? It's just like right when I needed it to happen, I was just started this business, didn't have the podcast, didn't have anything set up yet, but boom, there's Unstoppable. And I'm like, I need to do this. I did it. Yeah. And you started speaking about, so being a stay-at-home mom, I don't like using the word trapped, and maybe I'll let you tell your story about it. But when you were telling that story, I was like, this is the message that I need to get out. This is the message. We're not saying that it's not okay to be a mom and a wife and a mother or, a stay-at-home mom. We love that. We love it. That is a true calling. And I actually am like, why would you make fun of, I unfollowed all of these accounts on Instagram that like joke. They're really funny. I get why they're funny because they're true. Like it's truths, but not. But when a mom is like, I have to make it to 5 o'clock so I can numb the senses. Dad's home, throw the kids at dad and I'm out, and it's like such a struggle to be a mother. And so I unfollowed all of those because I've been working on mindset, and I'm like, I don't even want that in my mind because I'll make up my own truths. And anyway, so would you tell my listeners about that journey?
Yeah. So, if I were to go back to growing up, all I ever wanted to do was be a mom. Right? Like I had my kids' names picked out by the time I was 13. like I was like, this is who I'm meant to be. And I'm not going to lie, like babies, like I could birth babies all day. It's like my magic place. It's nothing is more delicious than that 2 a.m. feeding, and I'm alone in a rocking chair. I mean, it's going to make me cry, but like I just really love being a mother. And then they all started to grow up, and it's just like, I wasn't as needed as I was. For 10 years, I was birthing and nursing. was all I did for 10 years. And then like, I wanted to have another baby. And my husband was like, we're not having 6. And that was a good choice on him. But like, I realized like, if I'm not birthing and nursing, like, I don't really know who I am. And I still, I was like big into adventures with my kids and played all the time. But like, it was like, there was like a dead energy inside of me. Like I was 31, maybe 32 when I was like done having 5 kids. And like, I don't know what is next. Like, this is what I like planned for my whole life. And now I literally like am a baby with like no more dreams. And I remember my husband at the time had asked me what dreams I had for my birthday. It was like my birthday dinner. And I was like, I don't have any dreams left. Like, I literally don't even know how to dream anymore. And he actually inspired me. He said, you need to come up with a dream. Like, you need to come up with a dream. So for 5 months, I prayed and asked God, like, could you please give me the ability to dream again? Like, can you show me how to dream? Can you give me some possibilities or visions? And like, it was quiet. And I'll also say at this time, I was probably 40 pounds over my normal weight. I was drinking like 80 ounces of Dr. Pepper a day. Like, I literally had like Dr. Pepper pushers. Like, I'm like a really lovable human. So, like, I had like my drug pushers at every gas station. I had like legit drug pushers. Like, I'd walk in, they'd be like, grab your Dr. Pepper for free today. Like, every day. I was just getting it free in every gas station. Really glad I didn't ever like try drugs, because I'm pretty sure I would have won in that world. But like, it was like depressing, right? Like, I like, people would be like, what's your favorite thing? I'm like, I don't know, Dr. Pepper. Like, I don't, there's nothing left. And so after 5 months of praying, actually my answer came in the most tragic way, which was all these trauma memories of being sexually abused as a child came up. And they came up like a tidal wave that had been behind a dam for my whole life. And it was like, I couldn't breathe. And I remember sitting in my office and being like, I just want to take my life. Like, I can't raise 5 kids and have this much level of pain. And I also like hate God, and I like hate humanity. And I was like, everything is the worst. And I remember calling a suicide hotline, and they were like of zero help for me. And I was like, if they can't help me, then like, I don't know what can help me. And so as I was about to take my life, I heard God say, stop. You have work to do. And there was something in my soul, and I would say it was like my divine self that made a commitment with God. Like, if I stay, then I'm going to do everything you asked me to do, God. That's the only way I'm staying, is like, you got to give me mighty work. And not that mothering wasn't mighty, because it is so mighty, but it was like on a soul level, like, God, like, give me my work. And my life changed. And not only was I able to start dreaming again, like, God started to give me visions, and my gifts of being a book medium rose. And it was like, that commitment changed my life. And I still mother like I always have, and fulfill this calling that I feel deeply called to be.
And I love how fierce you are about it, because I don't even know what show it is. And he says, when you find that person that you love and you want to love for the rest of your life, you want the rest of your life to start right now. And I thought of that. That came to me today about you, because I'm like, I cannot keep up with how many books you're writing. I would need a long time to be able to sit down and keep up with and your foundation and your, what you're doing with your publishing house and your kids. I see that what's going on in the back, with them. And I'm like, I know that you got that feeling that was like, when you find that passion and it is shown to you, you want that to start immediately, right? When you know what your purpose is for the rest of your life, you want it to start instantly right then. And it's like, I can see that with you. You hit the ground running, and I didn't even know you back then when it started. I can just see it now coming out of you, right? Since when we met.
Yeah, it's, I'm intense on all levels. I'm not going to lie. Most people actually can't really handle me, but the intensity is what makes shifts and changes. And like, as of today, I'm actually working with a nonprofit lawyer, and we're setting up a nonprofit for suicide ideation and suicide awareness. And that's something God's actually asked me to do for 5 years. And it's finally happening. So that's been the one thing that I haven't been able to get traction on. Everything else God asked me to do, I actually like move really fast. But there's massive resistance when it comes to suicide. There's a lot of darkness that pushes against anybody who wants to make a dent in that world. But like, you don't mess with me. That's what I say to darkness. You don't mess with me. Like, I'm fire. Like, move along. We got shit to do.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. I love that that's happening. Like, right now, I feel like I'm part of that. Like, I can't wait to hear how that goes, and I will help in any way. That's amazing. I love that so much. And
yeah.
Wow, good for you. I saw it on the other side. I was an emergency dispatcher for 6 years. Wow. And it's such an unfortunate thing to want to help someone and not be able to, because you get into human rights and you get into, it's weird. It's a really weird thing. Or people saying, you need to help this person, and them saying, we can't interfere. We can't, it's weird.
Yeah.
That's,
I'm going to be honest, like the visions that God shows me for what I'm supposed to create is going to be like, I don't know, at least $5 million. So I think that's what's pushed me off for so long, was like, this is going to cost so much money. And now it's like, I've never asked God how. So it's weird that how keeps finding its way into this. And anyways, long story short, it was Christmas Eve. Gosh, I'm so emotional today. My heart is tender today. It was Christmas Eve this year. It was my first, I've only been separated, divorced for 6 months. So everything's fresh. And it was my first Christmas Eve without my kids. So like 18 years of like always having kids. It was super painful. And I remember waking up and being like, I just want to lay in bed and cry all day. And God's pretty spicy with me. God's like, we don't have time for that, so let's move along. So my sister called me. She said, we're going to the YMCA to swim. You need to come. And God's like, get up. Let's go. So I go, and I'm just sad, and I'm sitting in the hot tub, and this woman comes in the hot tub, and we just start talking, and I tell her about my publishing house, and then I tell her that I want to start a nonprofit, and she's like, oh my gosh, my husband's built all the nonprofits for like Schwab, and like she just starts naming all these things, and he literally walks into the hot tub, and I'm like sitting there Christmas Eve in a hot tub at the YMCA with this like really successful nonprofit lawyer who now like has taken on this project, and he is like told me how suicide has affected their family, and he's like, I will show up with you every step of this way. And so like when I say like, how do I ask how, when God's like dropping in these pieces? And that's how, for everyone who's listening, like God something, and if you don't get in the mix of how, the miracles like that just show up. They just show up.
I'm jumping out of my skin for you. That's amazing. And that is exactly what following along on your journey since I've met you, is it does feel like that. You just go. It's what we talked about at the beginning. If you stop getting in your own way and just keep going, keep moving forward, these things will come to you. I have little bullet points here, so I hope it doesn't feel all over the place, but I feel like we've gone backwards from where I actually thought in my head that we would go with this. Yeah. And I'm loving it. It's just flowing out of me. But I wanted to go back to letting go of systems. Yeah. And if I did my timing right, that was about 11 years ago from when you were talking about this, and breaking so you can rebuild stronger. I love that philosophy. Yeah. I love it. It's like you break a bone so that it can rebuild stronger, right? Yeah. That philosophy of breaking away from systems. And you broke away from something that was very, very strong in your life. Yeah. And I totally understand because I was also raised in the LDS religion. And the fact that because I'm not active, and actually I haven't been active, honestly, if I take it clear back to when I used to fight tooth and nail, I mean, literally my sisters tell me all the time that they would have to pin me down to put me in a dress when I was like 5, 6. I mean, something about it just, I did not want to do that. So, for me, when you talk about how the struggle, which I will let you tell your own story, but being able to still come out of it with such an intense relationship with God, that's amazing to me. Because normally you hear, I don't want religion, I don't believe in God. Or, you know what I mean? I mean, it's such extremes, but you're like, no, I still have a very good relationship with God. It's just my own relationship. Yeah. So
I guess I'll say, like, growing up with a lot of sexual abuse trauma, that leads you to find a stable ground. And I had a lot of abuse happen in my home. And so home wasn't stable. It wasn't a safe place. And so then, and it wasn't my parents. My grandpa lived with us. So I always want to clear that. It's not my parents. But it's like, there wasn't a safe place. But church became my safe place because there were rules. So if you've been through trauma, rules are like super helpful. Like, okay. And then there was like this ascension path. Like, okay, if I'm really, really good, then like I can live with God. And being in so much trauma, like that felt like honey to me. Like, okay, there's a plan, there's safety, there's security here. And I mean, I was like in it. Like I loved the church, like loved it. I mean, I was the 9-year-old reading her scriptures every day, right? Like it really filled me. And I mean, I'm 20, like first counselor in relief study. I think I was a relief study, first, whatever, I don't even know what they're called anymore. But like I was always in the presidency, always. And I loved it. So when I hit 29 was actually when I started to doubt. And I was like, what? Like, how could I ever doubt the only thing that's been stable in my life? And so I actually I kept being like, I'm going to be the one that has the best story ever. You know, like that one who like says they doubt and then they come back and it's just this conversion story. And I just kept really leaning into that. And I mean, I literally lived for probably 5 years going to church and just praying and like, please help me to love this again. Like, please. But instead, I would go to church and it was painful. I'm like, why is this painful? And I would tell this to people and they'd be like, well, are you like sinning? I'm like, no. Like, I've never drank. I've never slept around. I've never done anything. Like, there's no sinning here that would make it. So all of a sudden, like, I got shame for doubting, right? Like, well, you must be doing something wrong. Then when the temple, which used to be my favorite thing on the planet, stopped being peaceful and created pain in my body, that's when people were like, well, you're probably sinning. Like, I'm not sinning. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I want to love this church. I want to believe. I want to believe so bad. And then I had this just, like, when I had that awakening and I committed to God, it was like, oh, God's my religion. Oh, God is the one that guides me. Oh, and then it actually, like, kind of released this, like, need for the church to be right or wrong. Like, I don't even care. I don't care if it's right or wrong. I don't care if it's true or false. Like, who cares? And I kept going for years and years, mostly for my children. And then, I've had lots of experiences that we could talk about. But when my marriage ended, I had a dream. And in the dream, it was a vision for me. I know when they're visions and when they're dreams. And there was a forest fire, and I was running from it. And I ran towards these trees, and by the time I got to the trees, the fire had consumed the whole trees, and I'm running down a hill away from the fire, and it's literally like lapping at my heels, and I'm like, I'm going to make it. And as soon as I think I'm going to outrun the fire, I hit a chain link fence, and the fire consumed me. And I wake up, and I just hear God say, burn it all. And I was like, got it. Like, marriage is burned, religion is burned, and my old publishing house name burned. Like, holy hell, burn it all. And it was so scary, and it was like the best thing I've ever done, because I just got to create new. From the ashes.
From the ashes.
Yeah. Told you I'm intense.
All the chili willies. Oh, I'm sitting here like this, like so intense.
I'm always like, Keira, slow down. Maybe don't tell people everything. I'm only one way, Gina. It's only one way with me.
I love it. I love it so much. Because with me, it's no matter how I prepare, I'm just like, okay, I should go on to the next question. Okay, all right. Like, I get so entertained and I get or inspired, or I get so moved that I'm like, wait. Okay,
where do we go from now?
Like, where do we go? Okay, well, that was pretty powerful. You dropped a mic. I got nothing else.
Nothing else. Yeah. Let's bring it back.
Bring it back. Let's bring it back. Let's be professional. Be professional. No. Okay. Well.
Yes.
Oh, I have an idea.
Okay.
Okay, I got it. Here it comes. The reason you are here is you are going to be my first episode of March. I know it's weird because, right, it's weird because my episode came yesterday, which was Sally Holder, actually. So good. Today. And so you are my first episode of March for a reason, because March is Women in History Month, and the theme this year is the women who tell our stories. Yeah. And it was like a lightning bolt, because I'd already been in contact with you. I mean, we've been in contact trying to make this happen anyway, but I'd been in contact with you. And then Randa, and I knew that this was going to be my monthly topic already. Like, I had already been preparing for this. Well, then Randa posts, hey, my book's live. And I'm like, whoa, wait, whoa. And it is a compilation of how many women are in there? There's 15 women?
Yeah.
I sat and counted. I think it's around 15. But anyway, yes, there are 2 men, and bless their little hearts. But we're talking about the women. And so it is a compilation of stories from all of these women. And I'm like, boom. Keira, first episode. Randa, second episode, right? Yeah. And I'm like, the women who tell our stories. Amazing. So it was really cool. In one of your episodes, you talk about our gifts. And of course, we've been telling ourselves not to use our gifts because of the generational, like the witches, like they were burned at the stakes because they had these gifts. And it's like, we have these gifts and we need to remember how to, and that's what I've been trying so hard to inspire these women. Yeah. Like, it's not a Where's Waldo book. Your purpose is not like, once I do this, I will have purpose. Once I complete this, I will find my gifts. It's like, it's not Where's Waldo. It's in here. But we push it down and we push it down and we push it down until it gets covered with doubt. It gets covered with society, with comparison, with whatever. It gets shoved down. So do you have actionable, I want to hear actionable steps of helping women
totally
come out of the ashes, right?
One of the easiest ways is just go on my YouTube. I have a morning prayer practice and evening prayer practice that go live every day. It's free. And what this does is it helps people get into the habit of spiritually listening. You know, it's interesting, like we always talk about like, oh, you're going to go to the gym so you can work out and you can train for this marathon, you can get in shape. And there's like a practice of training your muscles so you can get this physical body or the strength to do something physical. What's rare is that we don't talk about, well, what's your daily spiritual practice that builds the muscles of spiritually receiving? And for me, if you're going to find your purpose, it's got to come from the divine. Whether you say it's God, spirit, universe, there's a higher source that you can tap into. And so I make these videos every morning and every night. They are completely channeled. And when I say that, like, I never know what practice I'm going to create until I sit down with my camera and we're about 2 minutes in. And then God pours down a practice. So not one practice has ever been the same. And that's why it's like, get in there, do these videos. They're 5 to 10 minutes. They're super short. And the reason being is this is going to start training you like you would watch a workout video, but I'm teaching you how to train your spiritual muscles to receive. And the more you can learn how to receive, then you can ask any question that you need to the divine and receive answers, including your purpose, your passion, your work, your life, your mothering. I mean, at this point in the game, I have done this for so long now, and this is such a part of my life that, like, I'll literally be driving down the road. I'm like, all right, I need you to show me, like, what street's the best street. I'll be in the house. Like, I need you to show me what ingredients I can make dinner. I have, like, literally 15 minutes. Like, what if we could live like that all the time? And that doesn't mean that life works out always, but it's a whole lot easier, and focus gets way more dialed in. So that's the first one. If people don't want to watch my YouTube videos, then just make time. Like, make time for your spiritual work. This is how you figure out your purpose, because the spiritual work is exactly what you said. It's going inside. It's not out here. You're not going to find it in a book. You're not going to find it in anything other than you quieting your mind, getting into the heart, asking for divine guidance, and then listening. It's just a muscle.
I love that. Because actually, for all the people who are not in that practice, going to the gym, it does release that for even for my mind. I'll be in the middle of a spin class and be, oh, that's great content, or whatever, or I'll be in the middle of it, which yoga, it's hard for me because I'm so torn, because they're like, be present, bring the present, and I'm just like, blah, blah, blah. But, or even a bar class or whatever. And I will get that feeling, but that must just mean that that's how I meditate. You know what I mean? That for me just means that going out on a bike ride or being on a jog for someone, that may just be where you meditate. That might just be how your mind works. And for the people that isn't, then yes, go quiet yourself somewhere. Because I have a friend that if she just told me, actually, at our last retreat, we had my friend Lisa come up and do mind coaching. And so we laid down and just quieted ourselves, right? And she said the whole time I was just like, and she's like, I cannot do that. I can't sit inside myself. And so for her, probably go run, go get on a spin bike. That might be how you meditate, but just do it. Go figure out how to connect with yourself and just listen and unblock these things. It's so hard for me to watch. And because I'm from a mom that had 8 kids, stay-at-home mom, like so sweet, amazing woman. Oh, she's so tough. But was raised on a farm, very humble, right? Very humble upbringing, made their own clothes, same thing. So for her to dive right into 8 kids, right, from being out of high school, and she did a little college, but I think she was married. I think they had my sister in college, slept in a drawer in their apartment. So anyway, jumped right into boom, 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 8 kids. I asked her, I had her on an episode. I said, Mom, what would you go back and tell young Evelyn? Like, what would you say to her? And she said, I think I would say, there's always time for that. There's always time to get married. There's always time to have the babies, right? Take time for yourself first and get to know yourself first, right? And it's like, I hate it when people say, I don't have regrets. You can't have regrets. And I'm like, you can have regrets. I do. Yeah, I know that I've grown from them. So I'm not saying I wish that would have never happened, but I can be like, oh man, that could have killed me. I'm glad I didn't die, but And so for her to hear that, I was just like, when Ryan came to me and said, I want you to start this community, I was like, in my soul, yes, 100%. I didn't even have to think about it. It was like, yep, this is my calling. This is my purpose. I am going to hold a mirror up to every single one of these women that come by me for however long they're with me. It might be a month. Might be forever, whatever. I will hold that mirror up in your face, and you will see the amazing person that's in there. And until you see that, you're not leaving. Or I will come. I told one of my girls, I'm like, you ghost me, I'll just show up at your door in Texas. I'm that crazy. And she's like, I kind of believe you. And I'm like, I'm not kidding, But for me, that's scary, that when I say, what's your vision? What's your dream for yourself? And even I had to have help. Sweet little Janie, love her to death. Sweet little Janie, I said to her when she was my brand manager when I first started. And I was like, Janie, I need you to help me make goals. Like, I don't know how to make goals for a business. Like, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I mean, I managed 8 vacation rentals, and we owned them, and I cleaned them, and I managed them. But that's just what you do. It's what you do. It's like pretty easy. I didn't have to have goals, and I had to have help creating my first goals.
Well, and here's the thing, is that if people, aren't for sitting and meditating, like my meditating is very active. Like I don't do a lot of like it's very active, like creating visions and walking through, I am definitely ADD. So my meditations have to be some sort of active meditation. But those of you, especially like how you said you get these ideas, imagine if you actually intentionally said, I'm going to spin class. All right, divine, God, universe, I would really like an answer on this piece today while I'm in spin. Well, now, instead of just like every now and then this really good idea shows up, you're using this as a portal. Like, oh, this is where I receive. So if I go in with deeper focus and intention, I'll actually walk out with deeper results and answers. So it's all about finding your number. Like, where's the place that you receive the most? Now let's ramp it up. Because if we can be divinely guided in everything, like, life gets so much better, so much richer, so much easier, so much more fulfilling. Like, this is the deliciousness of life. Instead of like sometimes things work out. No, like, what if every time things work out? Even when shit happens, what if even in that, everything is actually working out for you? And that happens when you intentionally ask for guidance. I don't know. That's just what I think.
That's amazing. No, I wrote it down. I'm just sitting in it. I'm just sitting in it. I'm processing it.
I do feel like we need to talk about Joan of Arc before we finish.
We're not.
Because she is a woman.
Not done. Oh, no. We're not done. I need to take you.
I'm getting my braces off. I have to leave in 15
you've got
minutes.
a hard... Okay, then yes, absolutely. Talk about Joan of Arc. And then we got to have you back on because you know what? I really want to talk about Presley's book too.
Oh,
so good. Oh my gosh, that podcast episode was so good.
I forgot about it. I don't even remember what I've created.
Yeah. I know.
But I feel when we talk about women in history, even like women who tell stories, Joan of Arc is she's my spirit guide that I work with, and her valor, fierceness. Like, if we could all have Joan of Arc moments in our lives, like where it's like really going and asking God for guidance, receiving it and doing it no matter what the costs, right? Like, this girl had so much fearless faith to march up to a king and tell him that angels told her how to save France, and that he believed a 14-year-old, and that at 17 she strapped into actual army clothes and led men to battle and saved France. Like, to me, she is such an icon of like, what if we could even have 1% of that kind of faith in our life? 1% of that kind of mighty action in our life, we would change the world. And that's why my publishing house is called Joan of Arc Publishing, because every book we publish, I'm like, let's Joan of Arc this shit. Like, we're not doing, like, my number one tagline is like, I do not publish boring shit. I don't. I will not publish books that people just want to be an author. Like, no, go somewhere else. Like, write a book that's going to go change humanity and you want to do it fearlessly, I will publish that book. And that energy, I think we lost that somewhere throughout the generations. And I think you named it because, I mean, Joan of Arc was burned. It's not like this was safe for her. It didn't end well for her. It didn't end well for many women who decided to be bold. But that's why we're the luckiest women of all time. Because it is the first time in history that we get to be bold as hell, speak our minds, and create fearlessly, and no one's going to burn us. Like, we actually get to survive this round, and that's why we are changing the world. So it is like this fierce energy of like, everyone who's listening, I believe, has a purpose to actually activate humanity. But it's going to take some bold as hell moves. It's going to take some fearless actions and a whole lot of faith. But it'll bring fire to your life. And that's what I see do.
They may burn us. Yeah. Someone might burn us. Yeah. Society may. Because guess what? They're going to tell the stay-at-home moms that that's all they are. Or they're going to tell them that they're not good enough because they're not in the workforce. Or they're going to tell the lady that's in the workforce that she's a horrible mother. You're right. They're going to burn us, but it's saying, I don't care what you say. I can do it all. This month, my quote, I actually reminded one of my gals because she's going through it. And I said, guess what the quote is in this month? Just happens to be. It's written over and over again. I can do hard things. I can do hard things. I can do hard things. And it's like, we can do hard things, and we get to choose what we do, and we get to be okay with that. But you have to be okay with that, and you have to stand up for yourself, and you have to stand up for what it is you want, right? Yep. So first, you have to figure out what you want, right? Well, I'm going to take it over to Presley's book real quick because I want to talk about it because your 10-year-old at the time wrote a book called The Power of Light. She named it herself. She was just inspired. And I just go to the podcast episode, you guys. You'll have to go over and go to the podcast episode because
I know.
Chills. So good. I'm like, okay, where is this? I got to buy this. I have 3 little boys, right? Yeah. And to have it come from her to them, it's speaking their language, and they're beautifully written. She's like an old soul. She's an old soul. I have one of those too
on my desk that she writes me. I mean, this is just who she is, and it was beautiful to watch her. She just downloaded this whole book. Like, I have words to say. I'm like, great, sit and write them. And she didn't move from that seat for, I think, 2 hours, and then she like dropped her pen. She's like, it's done. And I was like, what? And I read it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, this is a book, Presley. And so we published her book, and I'm so proud of her.
Oh my gosh, I love it so much. I also, do you want to touch on your foundation real quick? Everything that went to the collaboration book and everything?
Yeah, profit that I'm working. So,
that is that one. Okay, so you were talking about the building of it and the structure of it and everything, but I never heard the name of it. So yay, you talked about it. That's awesome. That's amazing. I've ever worked on.
I don't work on things. Don't do slow. I'm not slow, and this is so damn slow. I don't even know how to handle it, but it's okay because I totally believe everything happens in the perfect way and in the perfect time, and I feel like a lot of my life changes had to happen before I can go full force into this. So it's time.
I'm here for it. I can't wait to watch your journey with it. I'm going to stay with it, and we're going to have you back on because we got a lot of things to do. But I want to show you that you channeled my book.
Yes.
During Unstoppable. So she had someone on stage come up and she channeled with her, and actually, so she invited everybody in the crowd to sit and just go through it with you, the process, with you, and I did. You channeled a book. So, I mean, it's just like teeny tiny baby steps of a book, but...
Well, then let's talk. Let's get that book to life.
Yeah, I know. I came out of there and I was like, cool. Just wrote my book.
The magic happens.
So... Yeah. It does. You inspired me, and you continue to inspire me, and thank you so much for being here with me. And this is not the end of our journey. It's just the beginning, and I can't wait to talk to you more.
Thank you.
Thank you, my dear.